Mode.
Good morning and welcome to our webinar, Home Appraisals in Today's Market. I'm Sherry Davidson, President of Davidson Realty in St. Augustine, Florida. And my guest this morning is Todd Oakes, co-owner of Accredited Appraisal Associates of Northeast Florida. If you have questions during the webinar this morning, please type them in on your screen at any time. We will answer all the questions at the end of our presentation. Todd, will you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Todd Oakes. I'm a Vietnam veteran, 63 years old, got discharged from Vietnam in June of 1968. I was a crew chief on C-130s. I've been appraising for 18 years, with the last 9 in Northeast Florida. I'm a resident of the Cascades in the World Golf Village. We've lived there, it'll be 4 years next month. Married, have 2 kids and 2 grandchildren. My past experience is I was Vice President of Sales and Marketing for the the largest Century 21 franchise in the Midwest, and taught real estate and built homes and remodeled homes.
Thank you. This morning we're going to start with some questions and just let Todd kind of explain what he does to us. So first we'll start with what's the difference between a CMA, a comparative market analysis, and an appraisal?
Yeah, a CMA is typically done by a realtor, and it takes between a half hour and an hour to complete, and uses mainly or typically MLS data. Where a residential appraisal typically takes about 6 to 7 hours to complete and is done by a state certified or licensed real estate appraiser. I'm a state certified appraiser. We use MLS data, property appraisers data, flood maps, tax records, wind data, RealQuest. Wind data and RealQuest are very similar. Plat maps and aerial photos. We take pictures of the interior and exterior of the house. We measure the exterior dimensions to identify the gross living area. And sometimes the public records are inaccurate. We lay the rooms out within the drawing, and we observe any noted deferred maintenance. That's deferred maintenance to us is not cosmetic. It's something that basically, if left not repaired, could cause structural damage, like a leaking roof, cracks in the ceramic tile in the bathtub area, which if water gets behind there can do some serious damage, and just things like that. We also make notes of any upgrades, repairs, or additions to the property. Once we leave the house, we actually visit the comparable sales and active listings from the street. We look at the house, take pictures, make notes about how similar those homes are to the home we're appraising. And then we sit down and actually write the appraisal report, which takes approximately 3 hours, which is included in the 6 to 7 to do the whole report. And the reason we get so detailed is we have to sign this, and it has to be able to stand up in court.
Can you give us the Reader's Digest version of what you actually do when you do an appraisal?
Sure. That's one thing my partners and I do when we complete an appraisal. We ask the homeowner if they've ever seen an actual appraisal report. Probably 90% of the people never have seen it. They're about 25 pages long. We ask them if they'd like a Reader's Digest version of what we do, and basically we get orders for appraisals from 4 different sources, primarily from lenders for financing purposes. We also get orders from the courts or attorneys to establish, for death or divorce, to settle estates. We get orders from financial planners to establish baselines for equity in their finances, to see where they're going in that direction, or some other houses they may have as investment properties. The first thing we do when we get an order also we get orders from people that just want to know what their home is worth. They want to sell it or whatever they want to do to it, but they just want to know. The first thing we do is search public records, multiple listing service, and a lot of other sources for everything we can find out about that house we're appraising. We call that the subject. It's the subject of the appraisal. Once we find out all that information, then we look for homes through multiple listing service, tax records, property appraiser's office, RealQuest and Wind Data and so forth. to find homes that have sold recently, comparable homes to the subject. Once we find those homes, then we do a chain of title search on each of them, trying to find out if they were a foreclosure or a flip. A foreclosure is obvious, someone had the house yanked out from under them, and a flip is where an investor would buy that house, throw some money at it, and put it right back up on the market. Lenders don't want us to use either one of those unless it's absolutely necessary, if there were no other sales, because foreclosures give a false low to the market and flip sales give a false high. They're not sales between informed buyers and informed sellers, or what we call arm's length transactions. Once we identify those, what's left then, we pull all the information we can about those. Then we actually come out and visit the subject. We do an appraisal inspection. We're not home inspectors, so we don't go in attics typically or in crawl spaces and things that a home inspector does. Unless it's an FHA appraisal, then we have to do what's called we call it a shampoo of the attic or the crawl space. It's a head and shoulders inspection, where we have to stick our head and shoulders up in the attic and crawl space and take pictures of what's under there to observe any bad conditions such as leaks or water or sewer breakage, sewer line breakage, or things like that. We, again, don't go in those particular areas, but we lay the rooms out within the drawing. We take pictures of the living room, the kitchen, and at least one bathroom. The bigger the house is, the more pictures we take, because naturally there are usually more amenities such as fireplaces and pools and things like that. Once we do that, we leave and go visit the homes that have sold and are for sale. From the street, we already mentioned that a little bit. We take pictures of those properties and make notes about how similar those homes are to the subject. And then once we get all that done, we actually sit down and write the report. The most important part of the report basically is the grid, and that looks like an electronic spreadsheet. And everything we've done up to this point is just gathering data. We list the left-hand column of the spreadsheet or the grid is everything about the subject, and that would be location, view, lot size, design and appeal, construction, actual age, effective age, total number of rooms, bedrooms, bathrooms, garages, carports, patios, decks, screen porches, floor rooms, swimming pools, and so forth. And by the way, to back up a bit, there are two ages of a house, the effective age, the actual age and the effective age. The actual age is how old is the house, when was it built, to today's date, how many years old is it actually. Effective age is how old is the house based on what's been done to it or not done to it. I've done, as examples, I've done houses. I did a house that was 2 years old in Marsh Landing, $1 million house that I gave an effective age of 10 to, because people had absolutely destroyed the house. Not totally, but there were cracks in the marble floors. There were broken kitchen cabinet doors, holes in the walls, ripped up carpeting, just an absolute disaster. So it was actually 2 years old, but it was effectively the same as a 10-year-old house. On the other hand, I've done one, say my own house that I used to own in Mandarin was built in 1968, but we had done everything to it, all new wiring, new plumbing, new kitchen, new bathrooms, new roof. So basically, the only things that were built that were still there from 1968 were the bricks and the 2x4s. So it was actually, however old that was, but it was effectively 15 years old. It was effectively the same condition as a well-cared-for 15-year-old house. So that's important when we make adjustments, because the lower the effective age is, it's worth more, it's treated more as a newer house. Now, once we list all that, we do the same thing with the homes that are for sale and the ones that have sold. And then we make adjustments for each line item. If need be, we either increase or decrease the sales price of the homes that sold, or increase or decrease them based on what they have or don't have compared to the subject. As an example, if the subject has a fireplace but the comparables don't, I would have to add the depreciated value of a fireplace to the sales price. I would have to increase its price. If it was the other way around and the subject didn't have one but the comps did, then I would have to deduct the value of a fireplace from each of the houses. If the subject has a 2-car garage and all the comps have 3-car garages, I would have to deduct the value of a 1-car garage from each of the sales because the subject has 2. Bathrooms the same way. We either increase or decrease that. Square footage, typically we don't adjust for anything under 100 square feet difference unless it's a small house, because 100 square feet in a small house could be a bedroom. In a big house, it might just be a walk-in closet. So if it's under 100 square feet, we typically don't adjust for size, again, unless it's a small house. But once we make all of these adjustments, we come down to a bottom line, and there'll be a range of values. They'll never be equal because the homes aren't the same, weren't built the same, and so forth. Then it's up to the appraiser, based on our experience and knowledge, to decide where within that range the value of this house falls, whether it's at the low end of the range, the high end, or the mid-range, the average, or so forth. But then we have to explain why we chose that value so that a layman, anyone that's not doing what we do, could understand why we made those decisions, and a judge in court if it ever went that far. So that's basically what we do and how we do it.